The hot California nights held a new kind of fear. The air was thick with tension, and the streets seemed to whisper warnings to those who dared to walk them. A string of brutal crimes terrified Los Angeles. Each new incident added to the growing sense of dread that gripped the city. People called him the Night Stalker. His name became synonymous with terror, a shadowy figure who haunted the dreams of many. His real name was Richard Ramirez, a man whose face would become etched in the annals of criminal history. He became the embodiment of evil. Ramirez broke into homes with a chilling ease, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives. He didn't care if his victims were young or old. Age was no barrier to his cruelty. Everyone was a potential target. He raped, tortured, and killed. His methods were brutal, his actions merciless, and his presence a constant threat. His crimes horrified the nation. No one was safe. The fear spread far beyond Los Angeles, gripping the entire country. The press sensationalized his every move. Headlines screamed of his latest atrocities, and news broadcasts detailed his reign of terror. People were glued to their televisions. Every update was a lifeline, a desperate attempt to understand the horror unfolding around them. They were desperate for any news. Conversations were dominated by speculation and fear as communities tried to make sense of the chaos. Everyone wondered who he was. The mystery of his identity only added to the terror, making him seem almost supernatural. Where would he strike next? The uncertainty was paralyzing, and neighborhood watch groups sprang up in an attempt to protect their own. The police were under immense pressure. The public demanded answers, and the weight of expectation was heavy on their shoulders. They had to catch this monster. Every lead was pursued, every clue examined as they worked tirelessly to bring him to justice. The city was on edge. The hunt was on. Helicopters scanned the streets, and patrol cars roamed the night, all in a desperate bid to end the nightmare. Richard Ramirez was born in El Paso, Texas. It was 1964. His childhood was far from idyllic. His father was a violent man. Young Richard witnessed abuse. Some say this planted the seeds of darkness. As a teenager, Ramirez started using drugs. He gravitated towards the fringes of society. He was drawn to the macabre. He became fascinated by death. Some experts believe his troubled upbringing contributed to his crimes. Others argue it doesn't excuse his actions. Regardless, his early years were marked by turmoil. This shaped the man he would become. Ramirez's criminal career began small: petty theft, vandalism. But his crimes escalated. He moved to California. Here, his dark urges took over. He became increasingly violent. He was arrested for burglary. But he always seemed to slip through the cracks. Little did anyone know he was about to embark on a terrifying spree. His first known murder was in 1984. He killed Jenny Vincar. She was an elderly woman living alone. This marked the beginning of his reign of terror. The Night Stalker had arrived. From 1984 to 1985, Los Angeles lived in fear. Ramirez struck at random. He targeted different races, ages, and social classes. No one was safe. He entered homes through unlocked doors and windows. His weapons varied: guns, knives, even a tire iron. His brutality knew no bounds. He terrorized his victims before taking their lives. He often left satanic symbols at crime scenes. This fueled the media frenzy. People wondered if they were dealing with a cult or a demon worshipper. The fear was palpable. The Night Stalker's impact was profound. He left behind a trail of shattered lives. Families were torn apart by grief. Survivors bore the physical and emotional scars of his attacks. The city of Los Angeles was gripped by terror. People were afraid to be alone in their homes. They installed new locks, security systems, and bought guns. The city felt like a war zone. The media played a significant role. News coverage was constant. It heightened the fear, but it also made Ramirez a household name. He seemed to revel in the attention. Section 6. Capture and Chaos, the people's capture of a killer. The LAPD was under immense pressure. They worked tirelessly to catch the Night Stalker. They released his image to the public. It was a composite sketch based on witness accounts. On August 31st, 1985, Ramirez was spotted. He was in East Los Angeles. A group of citizens recognized him from the news. They chased him down and held him until the police arrived. The arrest was chaotic, a mob had formed, they wanted vigilante justice. The police had to fight to get Ramirez into custody. Section 7. Justice and sentencing, facing the consequences. Ramirez's trial was highly publicized. He faced 43 charges, including murder, attempted murder, sexual assault and burglary. He seemed to relish the attention. He often smiled and waved at the cameras. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, fingerprints, DNA and eyewitness testimony. The defense argued that Ramirez was mentally ill, unable to control his impulses. After a lengthy trial, Ramirez was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to death. He showed no remorse. He even smiled as the judge read out the sentence. Section 8. The End of the Darkness, Death and Legacy. Richard Ramirez, infamously known as the Night Stalker, spent the rest of his days on death row at San Quentin State Prison. During his incarceration, he gave numerous interviews, often reveling in the attention he received. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Ramirez never took responsibility for his actions. He remained unrepentant, often mocking the justice system and his victims' families. His defiance was evident until the very end. He showed no remorse, no regret, and no signs of seeking redemption. In 2013, after nearly 24 years on death row, Ramirez died of natural causes. His death was sudden, yet it marked the end of a dark chapter in criminal history. At the time of his death, he was 53 years old. His life, filled with violence and terror, ended quietly in a hospital bed within the prison walls. For the families of his victims, his death brought little closure. The scars left by his heinous acts ran deep, and the pain and loss they felt continued to haunt them. Their grief was a constant reminder of the horrors they endured. Ramirez's legacy is a complex one. He was undeniably a monster, and his crimes were nothing short of horrific. Yet in a twisted way, he also became a cultural figure. His story, filled with darkness and evil, fascinated and horrified people around the world. He became a symbol of pure malevolence. The tale of Richard Ramirez continues to captivate the public's imagination. True crime enthusiasts delve into his story, seeking to understand the mind of a killer. His name remains etched in the annals of criminal history, a grim reminder of the depths of human depravity. Section 9. Conclusion. Remembering the victims, never forgetting the lessons. As we gather here today, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the importance of community in times of tragedy. The story of Richard Ramirez is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside in the human heart. His actions were not just crimes, they were acts of pure evil that shook the very foundation of our society. His crimes left an indelible mark on Los Angeles. The city, known for its glamour and dreams, was forced to confront a nightmare that seemed never-ending, and on our collective consciousness. The fear and anxiety he instilled in the community lingered long after his capture, a haunting reminder of the vulnerability we all share. It's easy to get caught up in the sensationalism. The media frenzy that surrounded his case often overshadowed the real stories, the stories of the victims and their families. But we must remember the victims, the lives he took, the families he destroyed. Each victim had dreams, aspirations and loved ones who now live with an irreplaceable void. Their stories are the ones that truly matter. They are more than just names on a list. They were individuals with rich lives and futures that were cruelly cut short. The Night Stalker's reign of terror may be over, but the scars he left behind serve as a stark reminder of the evil that can exist in our world. But his case serves as a reminder to be vigilant, to look out for one another, and to take precautions to ensure our safety, to protect ourselves and our loved ones. In a world where danger can lurk in the shadows, our best defense is a strong, united community, and to never forget the victims of such senseless violence. Their memories must live on, not just as a cautionary tale, but as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of love and remembrance.